So what happens after a fast? That's what we're talking about today on Dwain Woode, MD. Hey, if you saw me last night, you saw I was at a little over 94 hours of fasting. And so I broke the fast on the show right here. I had some cheese. I had, what else did I have? I had some tofu. And so the question is now, and we are now 6, 7, 8, 9 hours post fast. What does my blood sugar look like? What does the day look like? Happy holidays to you guys if you're out there. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level in this year. New year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. That's what we do right here. If you're new as well, go ahead and put new in the comments because we'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music to let you know that you are welcomed to this space, to this community. If you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat because we'd love to answer those and get to you as we get throughout the day. As you know how we do what we do here, I've got my meters off to the side that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a minute because we'll look at my blood sugar, look at my ketones, and then right below you'll see my report from my Dexcom Clarity, and we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. Welcome, welcome, welcome wherever you're joining us from, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, any of those platforms. We're glad you're here. If you know that there's someone that needs to be here that you don't see on the stream right now, go ahead and send them a link. Let them know that we are in the saddle and we are getting ready to go, y'all. All right, so let me go ahead and let's do like we normally do. We're gonna hop over, we're gonna do a check-in so that you know how I'm feeling. And I usually do this even though I'm not fasting right now. We wanna know, okay, what do I feel prior to breaking the fast? And then how am I feeling now? And like I said, it's about 9 hours, a little over 9 hours post-fast as my blood sugars are changing as I'm getting back into what I consider a non-fasting day, right? Today is a non-fasting day. So let's hop over and let's do that. So physically, mentally, and emotionally are the things that we talk about. And these really are the components that will either help you get through the fast successfully, or these are the components that can help the fast not be as successful. Okay, and I guess let me make a couple of comments before we get to the fast. So the last show that we did, the last check-in we did, right at 94 plus hours, we were talking about how do you navigate the holidays. And right now, many of you are in the process of planning. You're in the process of getting to, you're traveling, you may be on your way, you may be at the location. And remember, mindfulness is the key for the holidays. Mindfulness. So being in a space of understanding how your feelings are interacting with the situation, right? Whether there are interpersonal relationships, whether you have decided that you are going to continue the fast through the holidays, or you've decided that you're going to interrupt the fast and enjoy the festivities. In terms of food. Now, also remember that you can enjoy everything else that is involved with the social situation that you're in and not eat. Let me say that again. Often we think in order to enjoy everything else, we've got to be involved with eating. You don't have to do that if that's what you have chosen to do. But if you've chosen to interrupt the fast, hey, that's okay as well. Just know that you have made the choice. It is not a failure. It is not a moral defect. It is a choice that you've made, and you can restart the fast. You can restart where you, or restart your meal plan after the holidays. Okay, so just remember that. All right, so let's go back and let's do a check-in because as I was getting ready to do the check-in, that is a component of what I'm going to say here, right? So physically, During the fast, right before the fast, so 94 hours, I was not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, any of those things that sometimes people will associate with fasting. In fact, I was feeling very energetic because I had done a good job of resting. We'll talk about that as we get into the rest of the show today. Number two, I was hydrated. I was making sure that I was keeping track of the fluids I was taking in, and I was well, like I said, well rested, hydrated. I wasn't in any stressful situation coming out of or going into, right? We'll make more points about that. So physically feeling good. Today, feeling actually pretty good. So last night after the show, I ate. I was supposed to be packing because we were taking a trip, but I went to sleep, and so woke up this morning very refreshed. So physically feeling good. Mentally, not feeling foggy, was not feeling dull, was not feeling any kind of effects of having been fasting for 94 plus hours. That's one of the things that people will say, hey, how are you going to feel mentally? Are you going to be able to think and do all the things you need to do? In fact, in the fast, as you are transitioning from burning sugar to ketones, your body actually has an amazing way of producing some mental clarity, and so your mind improves. And right now, once again, because I was eating, because I slept, because I'm well rested, I'm hydrated, not an issue for me right now in terms of my mentation. And then emotionally, really very excited right now because it is the holiday. It is a time I get to spend with the family, get to do something relaxing. So emotionally, I'm feeling pretty hyped. Coming out of the fast, I was anticipating this, right? So all of those feel-good hormones, the dopamine was flowing, serotonin, those endorphins. And so this is actually a great space for me to be in emotionally. So physically, mentally, and emotionally, that's where I am right now. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at some blood sugars. So you remember, we broke the fast last night, 94 hours, 94 plus. And so you'll see on the screen, that is my Libre continuous glucose monitor. And that is what it's showing right now, 90. And you'll see down at the bottom where the blood sugars were coming into last night. And then right at about, I don't know, 3-ish, 4 hours this morning, 4 o'clock this morning was when the blood sugars actually started rising, even though I had broken the fast and started eating, that was maybe 11 o'clock last night. So it wasn't until this morning that the blood sugars actually rose. And as a matter of fact, my blood sugar, the alarm went off this morning. Let me get rid of that message. The alarm went off this morning to say I was low, right as I was getting ready to wake up. And here is the Dexcom Clarity, so 109, and you'll see a gap there at the bottom. That's because the Clarity sensor ended, and I had to change it. So that's part of the gap that you see there. And of course, I was sleeping, so didn't know that it ended until, well, it was alarming, and I just disregarded it. So this morning, I changed it, and now you see we're getting some new numbers. And then if I hop over here, so these are my finger sticks. So I've got a contour next, and then I've got the Keto Mojo meter. So let's go ahead and let's get a strip into each of those, and we'll see what those monitors are showing right now. So this one is the contour. So get a strip in there, and then I've got the blood sugar strip, blood glucose strip for the Keto Mojo, and then the blue one is for the ketone. So we'll start with the blood sugar so we can compare those two. Let's go ahead and get that one opened. And pop that in there. And then let's go into our trusty little container. And let's get one of these. We'll get two just in case. And these are the Lancets. And as I said before, these are spring-loaded. There's a little lever that you press right there. And when you do that, the Lancet comes out and it gives you a poke. And for this one, in the other one, the top is purple and the body is white. This one, the body is purple and the top is white. But they work the same. You basically turn this, and then you twist it. That part comes out, and I'm gonna go ahead and hold this up so you can see, so you can actually hear. And hopefully you heard that. And let's see, and so that gave me a good drop of blood. So we'll get this one going. And we'll see what those two are. And while that's doing, I'm gonna go ahead and get another drop of blood because I need to get one for the ketone. So you'll see here 117 for the contour, 128 for the keto mojo, 109 on the Dexcom, and then 90 for the Libre. Okay, you guys should see that there. All right, so let's go ahead and get this out, and then we're gonna put in a strip for the ketone. All right, and go ahead and get that started. What do you think? What do you think my ketones are gonna be? All right, what do you think ketones are gonna be? And of course, I'm not gonna show it to you, right? Because I tease you guys all the time. So what do you think the ketones are gonna be? So I ended the fast 96 hours last night. It's now a little over 9 hours of not fasting. So I've been eating, and if you recall, what I broke the fast with last night was cheese and tofu. Cheese and tofu. I'm trying to think if I went back. Yeah, and I did have some baked chicken. So cheese, tofu, baked chicken, and I also had some later on peanut butter. Okay, so that's my go-to right now in terms of proteins that won't spike blood sugars too high. Okay, so that was what it was. All right, so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about fasting. You know, as we do here on Fridays, we kind of do a fasting review. And in the fasting review, I always want to talk about what I term the 3 phases of fasting. And they are preparing for the fast, getting through the fast itself, and then breaking the fast or post-fast. Okay, so those are the three phases, if you will, of fasting. And as I was saying during my check-in, it is important to prepare for the fast so that during the fast you can be successful, and then also to be mindful after the fast. This one is particularly important because as you are in the holidays, as you're thinking about family, as you guys are in family situations and gatherings and so forth, it can be tempting to post-fast. So you've decided that you're going to come out of the fast, you're going to interrupt the fast, you're going to enjoy the festivities, enjoy the food, enjoy whatever different rituals that your family has. And if you're not careful, then that interrupting the fast and the way that you're eating at that point continues for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And then you look up, you're like, oh my goodness, 3 weeks ago we were at 4th of July. 3 weeks ago we were at Thanksgiving. 3 weeks ago we were at Christmas. And look at me, I have not really gotten back on my plan. Okay, so just as you have made a decision to interrupt the fast, to enjoy the festivities, you got to have a plan for getting back on your routine. Okay, because sometimes when we get out of our routine, then everything gets a little wonky, and if we're not careful, if we don't have a plan, then that being off the routine, being off the plan continues for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we look up and it's been 2-3 months, and we say, oh my goodness, so Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July interrupted this, but it was not the 4th of July. It was the fact that we did not have a plan for getting back on our routine. Okay. So why do I say that here is because just like we have to make a plan during the holidays, we've got to make plans for getting into a fast. And so preparing for the fast, there are 4 things I always talk about that I want you to remember as you're preparing for the fast. And they are in no particular order, but I kind of think of these as kind of the most important parts of preparing for the fast. Number 1 is making sure that you are rested. Fasting is just as much a mental issue as it is a physical issue. It is avoiding or refraining from food, refraining from calories, but it is also a mental thing. Okay, and so if you are not rested, as you know, then things that you do or situations you find yourself in can become a lot larger during times when we're not rested well, right? Because our minds are not able to process, are not able to function. Remember, physical, mental, and emotional. And so if we're not rested, all three of those are affected. Physically, we feel weak and tired. And so the push is there to soothe, right? Those buffering behaviors. One of the buffering behaviors that we do is we eat. And so if we're feeling sluggish, if we're feeling maybe lightheaded, we're feeling fatigue, we don't feel like we have a lot of energy, then that's one push to not be successful during the fast. Mentally, if we're feeling like we are foggy, we're dull, we feel sluggish in our thinking, then that's another way that we set ourselves up for not being successful in the fast. And then, of course, emotionally. As you know, if you're not rested, your emotions are almost on edge. Anybody says anything to you, boom, right? And so it's more difficult to manage many of the situations, many of the normal life events if we're not rested. So number one, we want to make sure that pre-fast, preparing for the fast, that we're well rested. Number two, we want to make sure that we are hydrated. So I've got my trusty dandy cup right here. New year, new you. If you are not hydrated, that also can translate into having difficulty during the fast, because your electrolytes can be changing. If you're not hydrated, then your blood pressure can be affected. If you're not hydrated, you feel probably more hungry. If you're not hydrated, your blood sugars are higher. Okay? So all of those things translate into not having a successful fast. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to hydration. I know we talk much about hydration during fasting, but this is preparing for the fast. We want to make sure that you're doing a good job there as well. And there are lots of different things you can use for hydrating. I use unsweetened tea, I use water, I use zero sugar, whatever beverage. As a matter of fact, I got one right here that somebody introduced me to recently. Yeah, I'm not going to put it up because we don't want to necessarily promote a particular product, but we may come back and talk about some of the things that we use. And then, of course, I did a show where I talked about electrolytes. So there are a lot of different things that we can do. In fact, one of our community members showed us or talked about some of the things that she used during our last community meetup. And I forgot, maybe 2 or 3 of our check-ins ago, we asked her to put that in the chat. So you can go back and you can look at that as well. Okay? Making sure that you're rested, making sure that you are hydrated, making sure that pre-fast on your non-fasting days that you are eating a balanced, nutrient-dense meal. Balanced, nutrient dense. I don't mean a lot of food. I mean that it should be nutrient dense. That is lots of vitamins and minerals, and balanced meaning a variety of things. Okay? So you want to make sure that during the fast that you are not suffering from some deficiencies of electrolytes, minerals, vitamins, and so forth, because you have not done a good job on non-fasting days of managing that. Okay, so it's not necessarily a fasting issue, but it shows up in fasting because we didn't do a good job of preparing for the fast. So making sure that you're rested, making sure you're hydrated, making sure that you are eating nutrient-dense, balanced meals on non-fasting days and preparing for the fast. And then you want to make sure that you are not coming out of or going into a stressful situation. Okay, so that's very important. Coming out of, going to a stressful situation, because those things are huge. Because if you are in stress, either coming out of, going into, then your cortisol level is high, and that can cause problems for us as well. Okay? All right, so that's preparing for the fast. Now getting into the fast, and I normally break this up into several components. That is, we normally do like a 24-hour, 36, 48, 72 hours. This one is a little bit more granular. So talking about the different phases from 0 to 6 hours is the postprandial phase. And here I'm actually going to interrupt our discussion of fasting and talk about my breaking my fast last night and what happens, because I want us to take a look at my blood sugars and when they look at my ketones as well. And the question here is, well, several questions. One is, can you remain in ketosis even though you're eating? Can you remain in ketosis even though you're eating? Number two, what happens to blood sugars in the post-fast period? How high should they go? If I see a big spike, is that an issue, right? And then the next one is, if I notice that my blood sugars are going higher and my ketones have come down, I'm out of ketosis, that means I've moved back into burning calories or burning carbohydrates. Can I go back into a fast? Right, so those three components that we want to talk about. And so the first one is, can I remain in ketosis? And the answer to that one is, what do you think? Let's go ahead and let's hop back over. And I want to pull up my Keto Mojo meter, and let's take a look at that. And so this is what we were last night, and this was right at 10:20 p.m. And this was before we broke the fast. And blood sugar at the time was 59 with ketones of 3.5. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take our Keto Mojo, because we just did a blood sugar check and a ketone check. Let's go ahead and turn that back on. And let's see what the Keto Mojo is saying right now. Okay, let's go ahead and pull that in. It says syncing. And let's see. So right now it says my blood sugar is 128 and my ketones are 1.5. 128 blood sugar, ketones 1.5. So ketones, remember, below 0.5 is considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 is considered nutritional ketosis, and above 1.5 is considered therapeutic ketosis. So right now, I am in nutritional ketosis. So we've moved from up in the 3s down to 1.5. And notice that even though I ate last night, let's take a look at the graph. All right, so even though I ate last night, let's pull this over a little bit. All right, so right over here is where we were, 3.5 with blood sugars down at 59. Now the blood sugars have gone up and the ketones are coming down. And so a point to be remembered here is that ketones and insulin cannot coexist. So as I am eating, as I'm putting things in that have carbs, my body has to produce insulin. When the insulin comes up, the insulin begins to get rid of ketones. And so as you are moving out of the fast, if you want to remain in ketosis, then the things that you eat are going to have to be of such that they don't cause a big spike in blood sugar, so that we have a lot of insulin that comes out, because once that insulin comes out, ketones will have to go away. And so in this case, I ate probably the tofu, probably the peanut butter, and so blood sugars began rising, and so some insulin has to come out. But right now, the ketones really were high enough so that the amount of insulin that came out was not enough to bring it all the way down. Now, it would be interesting to see what this is later today, right? Because today is a post-fast day, but today is a regular day. And on my non-fasting day, I still do an not extended, but I do a fasting window. So I don't eat all the time. So I probably, let's see, we ate last night about 10, 11 o'clock. So I probably won't eat again today until about 4 or 5. So that's my well, not my typical, because normally I eat at noon. Today I'm eating later because I ate late last night. But yeah, on my post-fasting days, I don't eat anything until about noon, which is when I have lunch at work and the team is eating. And so I kind of try to coincide my eating window with that. But today I probably won't eat until later. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to my blood sugar as I go through the day without eating, and then what happens to my ketones. Because right now, my ketones are still 1.5, which means that I'm still in ketosis. So I'm still burning fat. still converting fat to ketones. And so that's what you want to do. So can you remain in ketosis even though you're eating? The answer is yes. And that's one of the benefits of those fasting mimicking diets that we talked about several shows ago. That is the benefit of the ketogenic diet, because the ketogenic diet is you are eating but trying to still maintain ketosis. Okay. Number two, how about blood sugars? What should the blood sugars do? Well, for that one, let's hop over and let's take a look at my reports. Okay. So let's take a look at the report. And this is my Dexcom Clarity report. And you'll see there my average blood sugar over the last 14 days has been 116. If I change that to give me blood sugar over the last 90 days, that's going to be probably about 105. And you'll see it there. I'm in target 90% of the time, and that range for the target is between 70 to 180. 70 to 180. And my glucose management indicator, which is a surrogate for A1C, is 5.8. And in fact, when we did our show, when we talked about getting labs done, when we did my A1C, it was actually 5.8. I did get another A1C, and we'll share that with you in another show. But that is where we are right now in terms of our average and what we anticipate A1C would be. Okay, so 5.8. And then if we look at our daily graphs. Now this one is going to have a gap there because remember I had to change my my monitor. But let's go back and let's take a look. And so we broke the fast right here in the evening, right about 10, 11 o'clock. Okay, and so I don't have that data right here, but you'll see once we put the monitor back on that just as we were waking up. All right, so I woke up maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. Well, it had to be, about 6 o'clock, and it takes about 30 minutes for this thing to warm up. So, yeah, probably about 5:45 we put it on. And so you'll see that now 113, 19. And if we go back to that, you'll see that right now blood sugar is 116. Okay, so 116 right there. And so the question is going to be, as we go through the rest of the day, what happens to blood sugars? All right. And then so the third question that I posed is, if I get out of, if I break the fast, interrupt the fast, and I'm eating, can I go back into the fast? Can I go back into a fast? And to answer that question, let me give you, remind you, last week we celebrated our anniversary, and I was probably near 90 hours or so into the fast when at work there was an anniversary cake, and my wife stuck the fork into it after she cut a slice, and she gave me a piece. And so at that moment, I ate the cake, and then I didn't eat anything again for the rest of the day. Actually, I think until post check-in with you guys, right? So I interrupted the fast, and then I went right back into it. Now, I didn't continue a extended fast because I'd already done about 90 hours. But I could very well, at that point, have gone right back into the fast if, and notice I say if, the fast that I was on was not an extended fast. Like if I had done maybe a 24-hour fast, and I was planning to do a 72-hour fast, and I happened to interrupt the fast, or I'm coming out of the fast, and I did it at 24 hours, and say, hey, you know what? I don't like where the blood sugars are going. Can I go back into the fast? The answer is yes. But you've got to plan for that, right? You've got to have a plan for how that's going to happen. What I don't recommend is coming out of a 96-hour fast, coming out of the 72-hour fast, and saying, oh my goodness, look at my blood sugars going up, and go right back into a 72-hour fast. Right? Give yourself some time to plan for the going back into the fast. And when I say right back into, I don't mean like at that moment. Now, you may say, okay, I'm going to get myself ready, make sure I'm hydrated, make sure I'm rested. And so 12 hours from now, 8 hours from now, I'm going to go back into a fast. That I agree with, right? Because you've planned, you've made some decisions about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Because remember, that is the key. The key is the planning. If you plan, then there's a lot that you can accomplish in terms of how things will work in your body and how successful you are with the fast. All right, and so I just wanted to make those points. Getting back into our fasting discussion, though, so if we look at the first 6 hours after we eat, this is called the postprandial phase, and during the postprandial phase, the body is still processing the last meal. It's still processing the food that you just ate. And insulin levels are elevated, blood sugar levels are elevated, and this facilitates the uptake of glucose into the cell. Your digestion, you're having digestion and absorption of nutrients, and this is continuing through that process. Glucose levels begin to peak, right? So the food is absorbed and is getting as high as it's going to be. And your energy levels right now initially are high because your body is sucking up all of those calories, all of the glucose, all of those things that are coming out of the blood sugar or coming out of the food that you just ate. Okay, so we're still in that processing phase. The next phase, going from 6 to 12 hours, is early fasting state. So insulin levels are beginning to decrease because the body has fully absorbed the food, the insulin, the sugar, we've peaked, and perhaps the sugar is now actually coming back down. And glucagon levels are starting to go up because remember, glucagon is the counter hormone to insulin. Insulin comes out when there's high sugar, and it goes down as the sugar decreases, and glucagon comes out when there's low sugar, and it goes down as sugar increases, right? And so they work is the kind of the yin and yang of that process. And then glycogenolysis begins. And this is the breakdown of glycogen in the liver. Remember, the liver stores up to about average 100 grams of glycogen. And so for each gram of glycogen, it stores 3 grams of water. So 100 grams of glycogen means that there's additionally 300 grams of water. So about 400 grams weight-wise in the liver. And that goes away right at about 12, 13, starts to go away, 12, 13 hours. And then about 24 hours later, we've depleted that. So right now, glycogenolysis, so breaking down of glycogen to convert it to glucose is happening. And your energy levels begin to fluctuate as the body is now using up most of the glycogen that's there. Okay? All right. And then starting 12 to 18 hours, glucose levels continue to drop. And as they're dropping, insulin levels going down as well. And we're starting to now begin breaking down fatty acids and converting those into energy for us to use. The liver starts gluconeogenesis from non-carbohydrate sources. So now this is the place where a lot of people talk about protein or muscle loss, because as the body is switching from burning sugar, burning glycogen, it's trying to find another source. And right here, people say that, okay, it's going to break down my muscles. And that perhaps happens to a certain extent, but I want you to look down and I want you to look in the mirror. And I want you to tell me if your body has a choice between burning your muscle and burning fat, which do you think it will do? Right? Because there's a lot for a lot of us, and I'm talking, right? When I look in the mirror, there is a lot more fat, right? That the body has access to. And so it burns that a lot more efficiently. And so anyway, so we're converting now, we're burning non-carbohydrate sources for energy. And we may feel a dip in our energy as the body now is transitioning. And this happens very much so for people who are new to fasting, because once you fasted and your body gets used to that, when you start fasting the next time, right, your body has become adapted, and so it switches over very quickly. right? So people who are new to fasting may find that they have a little bit more waning of their energy. But if you've been fasting regularly, that's one of the reasons, by the way, why I say that we want to fast at least once a week, because we want our bodies to get used to the process of going into the fast. We don't want it waiting for hours and hours and hours once we start fasting. We want it to like, oh yeah, okay, we're in our fasting phase right now, and boom, and it switches over. Right? If that doesn't happen, then you can have some of that waxing and waning in your energy level. And let me pause here just a minute to say hello to Jennifer, one of our community members. Hey, Jennifer, thanks for coming through. Happy 4th, she says. Yes, happy 4th to you as well. Glad that you are hanging out with us. Thank you for being here. And we need to. I want to know what Jennifer's having for the 4th. Are you guys grilling out, Jennifer? What do you guys have on the grill today? All right. So that's the 12 to 18 hours. And then if we go from 18 to 24 hours, right, which is what we've asked our community to do, to begin working to fasting at least 24 hours once a week. Now, there are several of you out there, and our next push is going to be, okay, how do we do a little bit more extended fast? Because remember, right at 24 hours is when the glycogen from the liver is like fully gone and our body's switching over into full ketosis. And if we start eating at 24 hours, we don't get all of the benefit. We get some benefit. Let me pause there. We do get a lot of benefit. I shouldn't say some. We get a lot of benefit from 24 hours. But if we push it just a little bit more, then we push our metabolism a little bit more, and we get a little bit more of those other benefits. Okay, so 18 to 24 hours, ketosis, y'all. Here you go. Glycogen stores are nearly depleted, right? And this causes an increase in ketones, and the liver metabolizes fat to produce those ketones. Autophagy starts. That cleanup process, that cellular recycling process begins right here, or continues right here, okay? And the initial stages of mental clarity. Notice that past those first 12 hours, we get that mental clarity that we always talk about. Right? When I do my check-in, I talk about how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. That mental clarity comes as the body, it's kind of like, those movies where, they develop this super fuel. I always think about these, two guys who are drag racing, and there's the one guy who's maybe losing, and he hits that switch in the car, and and whatever is in the tank comes in, and the car goes away. That's what I think about when I think about ketones. Right? They supercharge my muscles. They supercharge my brain. And so mental clarity that comes in is amazing as people talk about how they're doing. So 18 to 24 hours, that's what we see during that process. Okay? And so that is the 18 to 24 hours. As we get into other parts of fasting, it's important to know that our bodies, during this process, that 18 to 24 hour, that's when a lot of the benefits that we talk about in terms of ketosis happens. That's when a lot of things happen in our ketogenic process and in our fat burning. So 18 to 24 hours. Now, what is also important is that not only do we want to prepare for the fast, not only do we want to get out of the fast, but we also want to make sure that we break the fast well. Before I go there, though, what I do want to do is I want to step back and get into some other hours of our fasting. We've been doing 24 hours, talking about 24 hours, but so 24 hours, right? We talk about the physical states and the cognitive state. So the liver's glycogen stores are nearly gone. The body increases lipolysis, that is the breakdown of fat, the breakdown of stores into fatty acid, and that it's converting that to energy. Some people right now, like I said, talk about the mental clarity that they get at this point. Well, what happens post 24 hours, right? So at 25 hours, the ketone body production ramps up. So at 24 hours now, so the body says, hey, glycogen is gone. I've now got to make sure that I'm using ketones. I got to burn this fat. And so it mobilizes everything it can to try to supercharge the process of of going into and staying in ketosis. So 26 hours, we have lipolysis, a breakdown of fat continues to increase, right? Continue adaptation to ketones. And this may result in clearer thinking and better focus, right? 27 hours, autophagy is kicking in. As we said, this starts actually during the 18 to 24 hours, but it really gets supercharged at this point. 28 hours, now we start to get some hormonal adjustments. Insulin levels are low, and insulin sensitivity, y'all, begins to improve because, right, insulin has had to go down. The body is now burning fat to convert it to ketones, and so any bit of sugar that's there is being utilized efficiently. Right? We talked about the breakdown of fat. When the body breaks down fat, it creates what are called triglycerides. Right? So that is a glycerol backbone, and it has 3 fatty acids on it. The fatty acids, of course, go on to be turned into ketones. But what do you think happens to the glycerol? The glycerol gets turned into sugar. So even in the process of ketosis, there is some sugar being generated. And that's a point that we need to make a little bit more clear for a lot of people, because they're like, well, why are my blood sugars still 60 or 70? Why isn't it like 20? Well, your body still has some sugar that it can generate, and that comes from the glycerol, which is coming from also the breakdown of those of the fat cells. And then 29 hours, right? So deepening ketosis. So ketone levels rise. And that's why when you see my numbers, you'll see that they start out the first 24 hours, maybe they're at 0.5, 0.8, and then we get to 25, 36 hours, 48 hours, and they've gone into 1, and then we get to 96 hours like last night, it was 3 point something, right? So those get higher and higher and higher. And a lot of people experience heightened alertness and concentration. That's why when I check in, that mentally I'm feeling pretty good. Right? So 30 hours, we're in full ketosis now. And then 31 to 36 hours, we have sustained ketosis, and autophagy is in full gear. All those things are going on right now as we continue in the process. And then just as important as getting through the fast, right? Because remember, we get pre-fast, preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and then we want to now break the fast. And as we break the fast, there are some considerations, some things I want to suggest, some tips that you want to keep in mind. Number one, you want to monitor blood sugar, right? You guys see I have 4 different things that I use to monitor my blood sugar, right? So I've got my Keto Mojo meter, I've got my Contour, I've got my Dexcom, and all of those are there, and they are helping. Right, so I've got my monitors here, and then of course I've got one. Let's show this one. I've got my Libre, I've got my Dexcom, and so I'm monitoring all the time. But you want to make sure that you're monitoring, because that really helps you determine what to do. If you want to go back into ketosis, did I eat the right thing? Is my blood sugar spiking up? Now, I'm not saying that you need to be overly, excessively, and neurotically compulsive over, okay, well, my blood sugar went up to 121. That's what I'm saying. So you want to have a general feel for what's going on in your body, how the food is affecting you. One of the places that we fail, one of the places where we get into trouble, is that we become so rigid in our thinking, rigid in our procedures, that it causes us problems, right? So I want you to be flexible. I want you to be adaptable and flexible, right? That's one of the things we talked about during our check-in last night. That's why holidays are so important, and that's why holidays can be stressful, because we have put ourselves in a box, and we're not allowing ourselves to be flexible. So as you're looking at these numbers, this is not to like beat you over the head or slap your hand to say, oh, you did a bad job. It's really just so you can have the information that you need to be successful in the process of keeping your health on track. Okay, so make sure you're monitoring. Number 2, portion control. As you're eating post-fast, don't just go and just sit at the table and eat a 12-course meal. All right, be mindful. Remember, portion control is still important. And even particularly as you are out with family and friends and those social occasions and the holidays and so forth, make sure that you are doing what you need to do in terms of maintaining portion. And then you want to eat slowly. The temptation may be, oh man, I don't know when I'm getting some more of this stuff. So boom, let's go grab it and just stuff it down. No, let's eat slowly, be mindful in your eating process. And then avoid sugary processed foods. That is a key through everything that you will hear me say. Avoid those sugary processed foods. And I think something just happened to my... Yeah, something just happened to my camera. So give me just a second. Let's see if we get that back here in just a minute. There we go. All right. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you are avoiding sugary processed foods, right? One of the tips. Because that will spike your blood sugar. If you spike your blood sugar, then insulin has to come out. When insulin comes out, then we're storing, so we're putting on weight, and we get that appetite stimulation. Okay. For hydration, make sure you're hydrated, not just in the fast, but post-fast as well. So water, always a good start. Unsweetened coconut water, very good. Herbal teas, right? Those are all very important things that you can use. You want to make sure that you are eating good protein, right? So you can eat eggs, chicken or turkey, tofu, tempeh. As you saw yesterday, I had tofu and I had cheese. Now cheese had some eggs in, but lots of protein. And then I had peanut butter. Okay, so those are good things that you can use for in terms of fasting. And then healthy fats. As you're eating, right, make sure you're adding some healthy fats because those will help the digestion. It will slow the absorption of any sugars that you have in the meal. And make sure as you're doing this, one thing that I don't have on here is fiber. Make sure that you're looking at and incorporating good fiber in the foods that you're eating. Great place for non-starchy vegetables, right? So lots of fiber there. So avocados, nuts, seeds, so good healthy fats. And then broths, right? Vegetable broth, bone broth, chicken broth, any of those would be good to break the fast because remember, you want to start slow and go slow. What does that mean? That means that don't sit down and like have very heavy food. Let me say it that way. Be mindful in the things that you're eating, right? But you can start with broths, and if you do that, then you will have good success. So considerations. So when breaking a fast, choose foods that help maintain stable blood glucose levels while offering nutritional value and are gentle on the digestive system. Okay? So this discussion that we're doing is focusing on low glycemic index foods, this one right here, in terms of considerations. Lean protein, healthy fats, and hydration. Those are some of the pinnacles of making sure that we are where we need to be in terms of our when we're breaking the fast. Because if you do that, if you get into the fast well, if you get out of the fast well, then the next time you need to fast, the brain will say, yes, let's do this. I'm happy about it. Okay? All right. So what I want to talk about is your potential for being successful. And right now, that potential is unlimited. At your fingertips, you have access. Education, empowerment, and encouragement. That's what we do here on the channel. But your potential is unlimited. Your ability to be successful, your ability to make change is unlimited. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. The past is the past. Whatever decisions you've made, even whatever complications you've had from the decisions from the past, that is in the past. The future, we don't know what's coming yet. But right now, we have the ability to make choices. And those choices come as a result of our education, our empowerment, and our encouragement. And so remember, just like I mentioned, the superhero, right? You know that story of the whatever superhero, and they're just developing their powers and they're unsure where they're going to fit. But ultimately, they get to make the decision about how they show up. And you now get to make the decision about how you show up. And remember, you have unlimited potential. Here on the channel, we educate, we empower, and we encourage. That's how we do it. We educate with the shows that we do, the blogs, the podcast. We encourage with the tools that we learn, because they're not just things to put on the shelf, but they're the things that help us implement the choices that we've made or the information that we're getting. And then we encourage with the community that you are part of, the community that is so vibrant, the community that's working right now. Education, empowerment, and encouragement. As you go through the day, as you go through those social situations, remember the triggers, the things that push us off of our eating plan, the things that push us off of our diet, push us off of our decision to be well. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. The habits that we formed, just the social cues that make us eat even though we're not hungry. Those emotions, those interplay between how we feel, the depression, the anxiety, the frustration, the tiredness, the boredom, they will push us through decisions that we've made to not eat or to eat in a different way. So begin learning emotional intelligence, how to handle those. Access, as you are around family and friends in the holidays and so forth, there's a lot of stuff around, right? So be mindful, because the access that's there sometimes will push you simply because it's there. And of course, there are people saying, oh, try this, try that. Oh, you're not eating? You should eat. And then taste, y'all. This is a big one around the holidays, because we remember how Aunt Sue's apple pie tastes. We remember how that grilled whatever tastes. We remember that pasta. We remember that high carb food or that sweet. But remember, we're never chasing the food. We're always chasing what it does for us. We're chasing the memory that it brings. We're chasing that place that it takes us to. We're chasing the calm or the position that it puts us in. That dopamine when that comes out. Emotions, habits, emotions, access, and taste. And then our challenge here is, number one, join the challenges. Come. We've had one every month. And each month we have a different challenge. Make sure you get back on the show, get back on the channel and take a look at those. But in the month of January, our challenge was to figure out your why. Why are you doing the things you want to do? What is your driving force? Because that gives you energy. That gives you winds in your sail when days get difficult. Then work your way up to being able to fast for 24 hours once a week to get your body used to doing that so that you can switch over into ketosis quickly. Then figure out, what is your trigger? Is it habits, emotions, access, or taste? I'll tell you, for me, mine, I have 3 of them. E-A-T. Emotions, access, and taste. Those are all mine. But once you know them, you can begin working on how do you handle those. And then begin creating meals. So one of the challenges in the month of April was to figure out, you want to create a meal that has whole foods, okay? Minimize minimal processed foods, no added sugar, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats, lean protein, tasty, and the appropriate portion size. And then we challenge you to find someone to mentor, to begin teaching the new year, new you process. Make sure that you're doing that. Don't just keep this to yourself. Last month, it was, hey, let's go out and let's make sure that we are getting our body checked. Make sure we're seeing our physician and figuring out the things that we need to do, the labs that we need to look at. We gave you a list of labs that you should have them draw for you. The more you know, the better it is. And then for this month, y'all, we got to incorporate some activity. So what activity you're going to add to your regimen? Now that we've gotten fasting under our belt, now that we know how to create a menu, now that we know how to be mindful, emotional intelligence, now that we figured out our trigger, now that we figured out our why, let's supercharge the process of blood sugar improvement, of reversing diabetes, of losing the weight, of improving our metabolism, of getting rid of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. All those things, we're going to add some exercise. So what's your exercise for the month? Okay, well, not for the month. What are you going to incorporate? Very, very important. All right. So I'm always happy to see you all here. And Jennifer says that they've got some steaks on the grill, local raised beef. Yum. Yes, Jennifer. I'm always excited to see what you got. All right. So remember, coming up on Sunday, this week in review, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you join us for that new feature that we've had. This is going to be our third episode. Very excited about that. We've had some very good comments from people about enjoying that process. So make sure you join us there Sunday morning right here on Dwain Woode MD for that process. And as I say to everyone, I'm happy to be here in this space. Always glad when I'm with you. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you on Monday. Well, see you on Sunday at This Week in Review, and then on Monday at 7 p.m. Central, right here on Dwain Woode MD. Have a great one. Have a great day. Enjoy family and friends. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.